I mean, they're certainly set up for it with the draft anyway, though, right? Like you said, they can't drag it out, but they've got the heroes to try and push and finish early, or at least earlier than what forward can get online with. We'll see though. Forward, fourth pick for them. They do seem to need a bit of crowd control themselves, bit of momentum with their own heroes. You know that Sven, he just wants to farm up for a while. The Omni Knight can do some work, but is more of a passive kind of hero, at least for a bit. You'll get that Leshrac out now, and that's one of those heroes that can set the momentum. Of course, does offer some great push potential himself on the Leshrac as well. And in conjunction with that Crystal Maiden, it's going to be really hard to lane against this Leshrac, considering he's just going to have constant mana coming in.
Yeah, there's a lot of value now in this Crystal Maiden pickup from forward. And again, with that Leshrac, you're going to have some great presence down mid. You have great wave clear to deal with those Eidolons and Skeletons as well. Of course, the Lightning Storm does do a lot of work in that sense. Even your Ultimate and the Diabolic Edict can take care of those summons quite fast. So having this hero coming out from forward, not the most surprising thing, and it does give them a lot more push as well. That's something forward does lack in their lineup. The supports don't push out too well. The Sven can kind of push, but the Leshrac is really push manifested in hero, and we've seen it do a lot of work in terms of taking those early objectives in other regions and in a lot of games. I'm sure forward can maximize that pick here, especially with, again, that Crystal Maiden support coming out. But they have to tie it out with a nice offlaner to go for themselves. They need something that gives them that control, that team fight, that engage and disengage. Perhaps forward goes with the Centaur, or perhaps, they go with something else, of course. But I think if in this case, if you're going to have the Omni Knight Crystal Maiden as your supports, your Leshrac down mid, you definitely need an offlaner who can give you that ability to take the fights or back off from the fights if you want.
Well, final ban's coming out now. The Sand King will be the ban from Complexity. Forward. What do they get rid of, I wonder? Does seem like there's a bit of value in if you wanted to run like a different position for the Leshrac. Say you wanted to run a position 3 Leshrac. There is some value for the Pugner here from forward, it feels like. I mean, you could
You're
also just
definitely
run
right.
the offlane Pugner as well. But just up against the... I'm sorry, I'm talking about Complexity Gaming is what I meant to say. Picking up the Pugner for Complexity does feel like it would suit their draft quite a bit. As forward, like, just making that Leshrac's life a living hell with that Nether Ward. Decrepit Fire for the Sven as well. Looks like forward will go for the Warlock, which does make it so they have a core Omni Knight coming out, which is nice to see.
I like
Complexity
this.
now.
I
Yeah?
like this coming out from forward. Now, of course, the fatal bonds in conjunction with that Sven in a tight area, even the Leshrac, you can be pumping that damage out quite a fair bit. The Leshrac, the Warlock as well gives you that team fight ability or the ability to disengage. It gives you a stun that goes through the Enigma of BKB as well. It actually covers all their bases quite well. And again, you have that core Omni Knight now, so he's going to have that early farm and EXP prioritization. So he will have the timings he wants. It's a lot of value coming out. The issue I have is that the Warlock, of course, doesn't have the best control. But I suppose with a Sven, a Leshrac, and a Crystal Maiden, you don't really need too much lane control coming out from your heroes anymore. A Warlock can just kind of focus on sustain, kind of focus on pumping the damage out now. And Call, what do they go for? They go with that
Ooh,
Sniper.
that's interesting.
Okay. Nah, it's gonna be very annoying to deal with as forward. You don't really have the best gap closers coming out from this lineup, and most certainly Limp on the Sniper should have a very good time playing this hero. That's gonna be interesting to see, at the very least. It's not something we see too often, but it does bring memories back, Mike, and none of them are very pleasant.
They certainly aren't, John, but I agree with your sentiment. There's really no way to catch Limp out on the Sniper, unless you do see UR go for a Blink build on the Sven. But even then, you've got to be worried that Z-Freak might just throw the Black Hole out on the Sven. So there's no real easy way to deal with this Sniper. Forward, we'll see what they do get up to here, but it does look pretty good for Complexity. I will ask you though, John, personally, who do you think came out on top with this draft?
This is gonna be rough. I like both drafts. I see a lot of value coming out from this sniper from Call. I think you can really make it work in this lineup. I'm gonna have to go with Call. I just think that sniper is a pretty big wild card. We'll see how exactly it goes for Limp. If he gets that really good start, you're not gonna have a good time catching his hero out. He's just gonna be way too far back. Even a chaotic offering is not gonna be reaching him in that back line. You have some great frontline heroes anyway. So Limp is gonna be the deciding factor here in how this draft goes, and I think he can pull it off. I'm just very keen to seeing how it does end up. If Forward can respond to this sniper quite well, then it's gonna work out. As long as if Forward shuts down the sniper early on, he can't flash farm as well. At very least, he'll eat into space that Z Freak and our Raid King will be wanting. So you have that. But if they give the sniper space in the early game, they let it take over that mid lane, then you're gonna run into issues that your draft just doesn't have the natural answers.
See how it all pans out. It should be an interesting one nonetheless. Complexity versing Forward Gaming. Of course, again, Forward still yet to drop a game. Complexity definitely really want to pick up this game because they are in a bit of an awkward position in the group stage. If they do win this one out, though, they will be tied with, I believe, 3 other teams. And that should make for a pretty interesting group. Though we'll see if they can pull it off because, again, Forward are undefeated right now. Definitely the hardest team to verse if you were going to verse any for Complexity. As of right now, anyway. Though I've got to say, I really like this draft from Complexity. I feel like that this should really be their game. We'll just have to wait out and see how Forward plays their own draft. But, I mean, I imagine, though, like, with Limp just getting farmed, like, he really shouldn't get caught out. I just can't imagine them finding him.
It's going to be hard. Again, you don't have the best heroes to jump that back line. As you mentioned, you could go with Blink Dagger Sven. It's not a priority item for the Sven nowadays. It definitely does come out a bit later, perhaps after a couple of items. In fact, I'm trying to recall, I don't think we see it too often actually picked up. You really rely on your side lanes, your off laner to get that initiation off. And, the Sven tends to be just a front line, right-clicking hero. You don't, at the very least in games we've covered, I don't think we've seen the blink as often as you'd expect. Of course, in this game, it does feel pertinent. The issue is Sniper is just so annoying to deal with. He has that shrapnel to cancel the blinks as well, so it's not going to be an easy call, despite having that blink up. As long as Limp, again, maintains his positioning and really maintains his presence quite well, it's never going to be an easy time to clear out the Sniper. The easiest time to kill him off is actually that early game. So the laning phase, if you commit the support rotations to kill off the Sniper, you could buy yourself that mid game. Because the Sniper just doesn't have the space to farm up here. You have other heroes that want to go in that jungle that have a sharper power spike that they would like to maximize a bit more. So, that's really the issue for Call. If they fall behind in mid, they're going to fall behind everywhere else too.
Tavo playing a few games with UR. It does give him the tip in the end. Didn't really dish out much damage towards UR on the Sven. Looks like he'll be more than happy to just return back into the lane. Get started. Meanwhile, Z-Freak will be on the Enigma, and it does appear we are seeing a core Spirit Breaker coming out from Complexity. So this is something different coming out. We'll see how much work Tavo can get done, but though we really haven't seen much core Spirit Breaker at all. In fact, I don't think we've seen it once yet.
We've seen it, well, not in this tournament, not in the qualifiers at the very least, but we have seen one core Spirit Breaker case, and I definitely, it didn't end up too well, and Tavo was actually being punished really hard. Gonna have to pull back just a bit, but the core Spirit Breaker, it has some really odd timings. It can do some work. It's just strange, and again, the last time we saw that in play, it didn't really work out too well. It was in that same position as well on the off lane. It did get the farm at once, it's just that the impact, it didn't feel like it was high enough to justify it as that core.
We'll see what Tavo gets done. Look over to that mid lane, John. CCNC, he's doing pretty darn well in terms of last hits, but he's copying a hell of a lot of harassment from Limp on the Sniper. Of course, he did go for that Lightning Storm build with the CM Aura, so There will be plenty of harassment out from CCNC as well. So Limp will have to be careful about how much damage he cops from those abilities. Of course, the bot lane, you'll see MSS there on the Crystal Maiden with Snake King on the Omni. And Miracle is there on the Wraith King. And he's doing pretty darn well as well. 6 last hits for him right now on the Wraith King, though Snake King is also 8 last hits, 1 deny, so they aren't really focusing on ensuring forward can't get much farm in this bot lane. Rather, they're allowing Snake King to get as much as he wants. And 3-4-3 on the Shadow Demon, he hasn't really been in the lane too often. I suppose there's not really much point in him coming there anyway, because there's not much he can do up against an Omni.
Yeah, there really isn't too much he can do. He opted for level 1 disruption as well, so it's not like he can harass out these heroes too well. So that's going to be something that works in favor of forward, of course. Just making sure their Omni Knight can get that farm. And Snake King, again, he's going to have a lot of sustain. He's not going to be easy to bully out. So Miracle's just going to have to watch out for his own farm in this case.
3-4-3, gonna try and chase down MSS a bit. We'll get 3 stacks off, but that's about it. Meanwhile, Tavo, again, gonna be in a bit of trouble. He does have the charge available, though, in case he needs it. Paladai will just continue to chase him down on the Warlock. And Tavo will be forced to TP. Looks like he'll go straight back to the Fountain, as he can just charge back. Meanwhile, actually Limp in the mid lane, falling quite low on the sniper. CCNC does fall quite low as well on the Leshrac, though both do end up surviving. Limp will just salve up and he'll be okay. CCNC does have a couple tangos available as well if he does wish to use them, though. Looks like Paladai will actually just rotate on the Warlock and use the Shadow Word on him instead. And that'll pretty much make us see CCNC should at least get to about half HP.
Yeah, that helps the cause. Of course, that does mean he can hold on to his 1 tango, his Fairy Fire, and his Salve for just a bit longer. That means Limp has to eat through a bit more HP if he wants to get that advantage, although he is doing a lot of work. He doesn't even have Shrapnel leveled up anymore, and he's just doing a lot just by all his right clicks and that range advantage. It's really something you have to master as the sniper, just playing around with your range or walking quite well, and Limp is doing a fantastic job so far.
Tavo, top lane, looks like he was in trouble, though Yuan didn't really find the vision to find the Stormhammer. Still, you look over to that top lane, John, Yuan is just farming way too well on the Sven. 29 last hits, 8 denies, and now they're going to try and have a go at Tavo. They'll hold on to the stun for the moment. There's the charge coming out, and so it looks like Yuan just didn't really want to bother with the stun quite yet. Rather, just keep him on low HP and around the lane. You still have that Fatal Bonds to dish out. Just a little bit more harassment here for Yuan. And as it stands, like, there's only 8 last hits currently on Tavo. There's just not much he can do on this hero. Not by himself. I suppose he'll have a bit of space while the side of forward are getting those bounty runes, but... Oh, bot lane, 3-4-3, ends up going down just barely before the TP gets off. MSS ends up finding it on the Crystal Maiden. And so that'll be the first blood coming out for forward.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate for Call. It has been a bit of a slow game, but 3-4-3 just a bit out of position there, trying to go for those bounties. He did grab his bot bounty, I believe, at the very least, so they got that bit of gold, but they sacrificed first blood at 5 minutes in. It doesn't feel like that's very worthwhile for the bounty rune. You definitely wanted that first blood in your end at this time, because it's been so long. You know, it just feels like a lot more value, especially in terms of what you get at this point. Nonetheless, it is still fairly even. Forward, they have found a lot more in these lanes, except perhaps that mid and bot lane. Bot lane a bit even, but mid lane definitely where they've lost out a fair bit. CCNC just half a level behind in terms of EXP, but Limp has been working the sniper quite well, and he is reaching that point where, you know, he should have that good start. He should be able to pressure this tier 1 quite fast.
Mid lane, CCNT has to be very careful. There's a nice deep observer ward there from 3-4-3, and he's set up to try and go for a disruption setup. There are still quite a few heroes, though, here from Forward Gaming, ready to kind of retaliate if necessary. It looks like in the end, Complexity won't really find anything out of these rotations in the end. They'll just back off, back to their lanes. And as they do rotate to the mid lane to try and apply some pressure, you look back up to that top, and again, Yuan is still just farming way too good. He's 1.5k ahead of that rating though. Now they'll go for him. They'll start with the disruption. Yuwano, pretty darn tanky. He'll throw out the Stormhammer, and now the charge will come out. The rotation is there from TI9, so he can just heal him up, and now they'll just turn around with that Fatal Bonds. God Strength up on Yuwara as well. Tavo will have to try and juke him out, and is doing a pretty darn good job of it at the moment, actually. He does have the charge available now. Yuwara does have Stormhammer, though the charge is there, and he can't get in range. TI9 does get the Shadow Word off at the very least, but I don't believe it's going to be enough damage. Yeah, definitely won't be, though. He is going to go for the TP just in case. He will get down to 20 HP, but he will survive in the end.
I'd say that's some pretty nice time wasted from Call. At the very least, again, they're making sure Yuwar isn't completely unchecked, although it didn't really matter too much in that case. He's still going to have a pretty good timing on his Midas, and he's going to have... Yeah, I mean, he has his face boots up as well. So the farm on this event is going to be escalating quite fast. The one thing you have working for yourselves on Call is the fact that Z-Freak on this Enigma has not been scouted out, has not really been contested. So that's the one thing you're gaining. You're running a much greedier lineup. You have this jungle Enigma. You're shafting your Spirit Breaker, but at the same time he doesn't require too much farm. Your Enigma is getting free farm in the jungle. So you have that to play around with COL. Complexity definitely need to, at the very least, maximize that early momentum with Z-Freak. Perhaps once this Dominator is up, he is going to be joining a lane to push down, and that's really what you want to see from the Enigma at this point.
We'll see what Z-Freak can get done. He is starting to make his way up to that top lane. Well, Stormhammer comes out from Yuwar onto Tavo, but now Z-Freak, the charge is there. It's set up for that neutral creep, though they don't get the block off. They'll get the slam. Yuwar is starting to fall pretty darn low. Midnight Pulse there as well, though the heal is there from TI9. Now the strike will come out. Yuwar, though, still alive. That neutral creep's still going, but now they'll find Tavo on the Spirit Breaker. They'll have enough sustain there for Yuwar. And he'll just be able to run over to his shrine now and heal himself up back to full HP. Not to mention he does have his Midas up now as well.
Yeah, that's pretty rough from Complexity. They did want that kill really badly, but TI9's heal just barely keeping Yuwar alive. And of course the timings coming out. The fact that the Nether Bash actually landed much closer to that tier 1 than you'd like. Rather unfortunate for Tavo, and in the end really doesn't pay off too much, but they are forcing out the rotations up top. At the very least, that does open your bot lane. Although it looks like, again, it's just 3-4-3 in lane now. Miracle opted into the jungle, so 3-4-3 just going to be soaking up against Snake King, who has been left uncontested as well. He's at 67 to 12, and he's having a great time in this Omni Knight as well. Almost as good as you are.
Certainly so. Snake King will just keep going. You give him free space on the Omni, he says, why the hell not? 10-minute bounty runes, CCNC in perfect position. He'll snag the bot ones for the side of Forward Gaming. And so that'll be a 3-for-1 trade on the bounties. And now Snake King, I mean, gets chased down, but pops the Heavenly Grace and they just give up. I mean, he had the full...
there's really not much they can do. There's not much they can really do to contest those, and it's unfortunate for Complexity, but they are losing a lot of ground. This is the point where they're stronger as well. We talked about that push potential coming out from Z-Freak. CCNC just clears out his minions.
Yeah, meanwhile, MSS finds Tavo. MSS was the one on low HP as well, though. He apparently just finds the kill on the Spirit Breaker. Looks like he did have help coming in from Yuwar anyway, and he did pop the God Strength for that. Again, just really bad news here for the side of Cole. And well, it's a 0-3 now. 3k net worth lead, though, is there for Forward Gaming. They do it at the very least get the Midas up on Limp, and he's going to be the saving grace, aka the win condition here for Complexity. So he understands his job is to just keep farming up as fast as he can on this sniper. Not sure how much space and time he's going to have left, as again Yuwar just farming way too quick. He's going for the Sergeant Yasha build as well in the fence, so he wants to fight very early on. And once he has that up, I mean, sure, the sniper's not going to be easy to get to, but if the rest of your team isn't ready to 5v5 yet, then Limp pretty much is just going to be a sitting duck.
He definitely is. It's the one issue you have with Complexity. It's all hanging on the back of the sniper, who hasn't had the best farm. He didn't have too rough of a lane, for sure, but in terms of his worth compared to everyone else, he's definitely behind. I mean, Yawar on that Sven, 6.5k at about 12 minutes in, followed up next by his own Omni Knight at 4.6k. He's got a solid 2k lead on this Sven, and that's just going to be expanding as he clears out all these stacks. It's not the easy time for Complexity to be playing up against that. Again, their draft comes online faster. They want those early objectives with that Enigma, with his fast Dominator. They want those objectives with the Wraith King Skeletons as well. It's not happening so far. And that's going to be a massive issue as you approach that mid-game. These heroes do not scale as well as forwards.
Top lane, they are going to jump on CCNT, and this will be a nice pickup here for Complexity, though. Can they find it? CCNT is still alive. Assassinate will come in, but the Purge will find him from 343. And so they do find their first kill of the game now on the side of the Radiant. It was a big Leshrac kill. Unfortunately, the gold did go to 343 on the Shadow Demon, which isn't really the target you want to give that gold to, but nonetheless, a kill's a kill, and Complexity certainly needed it.
They certainly did. And you're starting to, at the very least, you find one kill. You hope that will build more momentum for your team. There's really not much momentum to go around. I mean, you have, again, Miracle just stuck in the jungle. He's just going to be flying out his Midas now. Not the earliest timing for sure, but that will allow him to at least play some catch-up farm again. Whether or not that's a good idea against Forward's lineup, against the Sven, who's just going to grow bigger and bigger, remains to be seen. They already have that level 6 on Pilot Eye as well, so they smoke up, they're going to go down bot, and perhaps get that kill in Zfree.
Zfree gonna hide in the tree line at least for now. He does have a TP available, though. He is starting to be surrounded. He is juking them out pretty nicely, though. Zfree still making a run for it. His team is TPing in as well, and he does have the Black Hole available, though. They'll go for the Frostbite and the stun. Now the follow-up as well, and CCNC, or MSS, will be the one to pick up the kill. Looks like he was thinking about turning around with the Black Hole, as you did see Tarvo and Limp TP in, but it will just not lead to anything. Forward now, obviously, going to want to go for a push. Complexity going to try and slow them down with this sniper. But I don't think Yawar and CCNT are going to be too bothered by this shrapnel. They are just going to keep going. In fact, they might try to go for a kill onto Tarvo now if he's not careful. But they will just be left alone to get that tier 1.
Again, it's a fairly straightforward objective again for Forward, who are pretty much ahead. 1-4 now, 14 minutes in, 3k lead for Forward, and that just means, again, you have to really try to find that space coming out from Complexity. This is the moment when you're strong. You have that Midas up in the Sven now. He is going to be going for that Radiance build. If he gets it sub 20, that's still going to be a pretty good timing for Miracle, and that will allow him to have much greater presence in these team fights. There is so much more for Limp to work towards as well. He has a Midas too. He's going to be trying to farm up towards that Maelstrom, and once that's up, his right-click damage just becomes that much more obnoxious.
Yeah, but while all that's happening, John, I mean, we're talking about Midas's. Sanjin Yasha is now available on Yawar. So, I mean, they just got their Midas's. He's already a full core item ahead. They do find the T1 top tower at the very least for Complexity, so that's a good start for them. Where Forward, they are very focused in this mid lane, and CCNT has to be very careful. He does get charged up. He does end up going down as well, as now Snaking is going to be the target. He does get the Heavenly Grace off at the very least, and it looks like he's just going to go for a run. He has plenty of sustain available, and MSS comes in with the ultimate. They'll find 343 and Pilot Eye. He'll drop the Golem as well. Yawar trying to go after Limp. They'll change their target onto Tarvo instead. In fact, never mind. Limp is still the target. They'll find both in the end. 3-for-1 trade. And they do find the T1 mid tower as well. While all that was happening, Complexity do take the top tier 2, so they do find a nice consolation. And I suppose either side's probably going to be decently happy with both decisions here.
Definitely so. It's still a bit of a bigger win for Forward. Again, they take out that Sniper, who is key to that momentum for Complexity, and they even lose out in their Enigma.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Yawar again. He does have the Sanjin Yasha. He still had the God Strength available, and he just kind of ran and just hit him. Of course, with that Sanjin Yasha and the phase boots, he just runs so darn quick. It's very hard to get away from this man. In fact, you look at his build now, John. He is going into the Blink BKB build for the Sven, so they are going to have the mobility there to jump on the Sniper and get the job done ASAP as well. And that just really concerns me now for Complexity, because not only are they falling behind, but Yua's going for the exact build he needs to target Limp, which is their win condition.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good time for Call. Again, they still have to hold out for Limp, at the same time really maximize the push potential you have with Miracle and Z-Freak, which creates an odd balance. It's almost like a 4 protect 1, except the Sniper's really not the most egregious farm-heavy core as well. He has a bit of an early timing, it's just that he's obnoxious to push up against as the game goes on, so they have that eternal defense working their way for Call if you get enough farm and Limp. He's still working towards that Maelstrom, still about 400 gold away.
Parlay die. Gonna spot out Miracle. 343 will join as well now. They're just gonna try and make a run for it. Meanwhile, at the bot lane, Tavo does get caught out and does end up going down. CCNC just setting up with the Yules and just burning him down with the Pulse Nova. And with that, it looks like CCNC will stick around. He'll go after the tier 2 bot tower now as well. They've got a 6k net worth lead, 2-9 for the side of Forward Gaming. Complexity are doing their darn hardest to push out that top lane and apply the pressure, but it just doesn't seem like it's really a concern at all for Forward.
It certainly doesn't seem that way. They are actually melting these towers quite fast with the skeletons, but it's not going to be enough to completely take an objective. Of course, you're going to have to respond to this movement from Call, so they send Yuar up top to clear out the waves. But it's certainly feeling like it's not quite enough. You want to actually clear out the rest of the objectives on the map instead. And Tavo?
He's going to charge straight into Yuar. He does have help around the area, though now God Strength being popped and Yuar makes the chase. He really wants his kill. They do have a couple heroes, again, right around the corner. Perhaps Yuar just feeling confident with that new Blink Dagger he just picked up. It won't lead to a kill, but Complexity, they do get forced to back off. Meanwhile, though, bot lane CCNC sticking around too long on the Leshrac will get punished quite hard. Limp does find the kill on the Sniper now as well. And it's just kills like that you can't really give away to a side like Complexity, because then at that point they will be able to defend those high grounds like you talked about before. And I mean, slowly but surely, they'll be able to pull it back if you're not too careful. They do also manage to defend that bot T2 tower, so they are holding onto their towers here on the side of Complexity. Even though they are behind in net worth, they are behind in kills. None of that matters if no towers go down. Meanwhile, we'll get started on that top T1 tower. There will be a charge coming in from Tavo. Tavo should cancel it off though pretty darn soon, I'm sure. He will. We'll go back in after the fortification, clean up that T1 tower. Now they might just try and take over the jungle of Complexity with Tavo. Be very careful. And Forward Gaming, once again, they'll end up with 3 banner runes as well. So more gold going the way of the Dire. Complexity, I mean, they're just holding on right now.
They really are. It looks like Miracle should have his Radiance up fairly soon.
Well, he's going to have it soon, John, but not if he dies right now. He'll lose that Reincarnation life. They're going to try and help him out. Z-Freak, he has the Black Hole. He might have to commit it, and does, but get Yule straight away. They still get the Wraith King out, at least for the moment, and now Guardian Angel comes down. They ended up finding Miracle with MSS on that Crystal Maiden. CCNC as well finds 343 on the Shadow Demon, and now Z-Freak really has nowhere to go and will end up going down as well. The buybacks are coming out from 343 though, mid lane. Looks like they have found another. Who is it? It is going to be Limp on the sniper that they finally end up finding. And with that, they'll focus their attention towards that mid tier 2 tower.
Yeah, it's rough, right? You lose out on all of these big heroes. You already use your Black Hole as well, so the high ground defense is going to be very rough. Without that spell, you don't have Reincarnation up in your Wraith King as well. He does have a Radiance up though, but it doesn't feel like it's going to have that great of an impact if you don't have that second life. And again, Forward Gaming just finding everything on the map. MSS now on a 6-kill streak without dying once in game. 6-0 on the Crystal Maiden, Mike. That's not something you tend to see from a hero like this, but MSS has been doing the work for his team.
He certainly has. Now, he'll have a BKB up on the Sven. So matters just got a hell of a lot worse here for Complexity, as you just really don't have the control for this Sven anymore. I mean, you've got the black hole, but you saw how hard it is to get it off for Z-Freak. Every time he thinks about it, you see a Leshrac or MSS on the CM. They both have Yules available as well as their own abilities to cancel that off from range. And at the very least, Z-Freak probably going to need a BKB if he is needing to really rely on that black hole. Looks like he is opting for the 4-star first though, so there's that, but it does feel like they do need the black hole for control right now. Like, I actually don't know if they have enough without it.
I mean, they do need that black hole for control, I agree with you. The issue is, even with the BKB, they're always going to be looking out for Pylite Die with his Chaotic Offering. That doesn't care for BKB. And, you know, just from that, it doesn't feel like you're going to be getting too much value from that item pickup.
They found Tavo top lane. Yuan will just blink in and stun. Tavo wanted to go for the charge, but MSS was there with the Frostbite, and Snaking will get the job done now. That'll make it a 3-14, but a 13k. In fact, make that a 14k net worth lead now for Forward Gaming. We'll have a look at the win probability, and it is currently 85% the way of Forward as well, which I feel like is pretty accurate right now. Bot lane, CCNC, looks like he's been caught out and has to be careful. 3-4-3 is falling low, but Limp is there to find the kill. They should be able to find it though. Now rotates over on the Sven, does pop the 10-second BKB charge and does find the kill onto Limp. He wants Miracle as well though, doesn't really have the mana to blink in. Meanwhile, MSS ends up finding 3-4-3 in the end. Parlay Die, mid lane, will end up going down to the Enigma Z-Freak, and now Miracle still being chased down by Yuan. He does have the God Strength steal up. Another Wraith Fire Blast coming out from Miracle, and that'll be enough though. Tavo gonna jump in by himself. Looks like he'll be okay as well. In the end, it looked like that was a 2-for-2 trade. You'd imagine that should go the way of Complexity, but I don't know, just seeing Limp die like that on the sniper, it just does kind of have cause for concern there.
It's a much bigger win for Forward. It really is. Even if you lost out on CCNC's Leshrac, you're keeping this Limp sniper down much more. And again, he doesn't have that space to farm up. You're already seeing every single camp being eaten up by Miracle, every single camp being eaten by Half Great King and occasionally the Enigma, but the sniper really doesn't have that room farm for himself. He is going to be taking at least one stack down bot, but again, Limp is not having the best time. He's nowhere near as big as he'd want to be. And that's down to really the farming rotations, the farm prioritization they have from Call. They've given Miracle a lot more to play with. They haven't gotten as much value as they'd want from this core Spirit Breaker. In fact, in terms of farm, the Spirit Breaker is actually worth less than Z-Freak's Enigma, which I'm not sure if that's what they were going to go for anyway. But they did give the Spirit Breaker a free lane, and he didn't really find too much. Tavo not having the best game of his life, and this core Spirit Breaker is going to be costing them because it really doesn't feel like a core.
Well, we'll be able to at least charge away from the side of Forward, and there are a lot of rotations coming in from Cole now. But with those rotations, Forward, are they going to stick around? They'll see Z-Freak snaking, thinking about going up that high ground, but we'll think better of it. Now the rest of Forward Gaming, realizing what's going on, will make their way there as well. They definitely want to take any team fight they can get right now. God Strength is also up, as well as the BKB on Yuan. Complexity, they will dissipate and try to get that farm up once again on their own cause. Looks like Limp's going for that BKB now as well on the sniper, so at the very least, once he has that, perhaps Yuan won't be able to be there long enough to really take this sniper down. But
He's
then
not
again,
going to have damage though. Like, that's the one thing when you go for that BKB, when you go for this sort of sniper build actually, the Force Staff, the Maelstrom, the Midas, you don't have damage.
look at Yuan, he's actually chasing right now. Tavo forced to charge Yuan, stop this chase, though. He is still going after Limp. It looks like he will eventually just let it go, as Limp will go into the trees and TP out successfully. Tavo will do the... well, he won't TP yet, but he is in the tree line. Nevertheless, though, forward, they look like they'll just go for the top tier 2 tower now. They don't really have a creep wave, though, to be fair. It is actually pretty darn far back. So perhaps instead they'll go for a Roshan attempt. They did ping it out. But they don't have the God Strength available, so maybe not. You are. Who has he found? He has found Limp on the sniper, and that is not great news for Complexity. Purification does come in. Limp is still alive, and now the charge goes in, though Z-Freak did not go for the black hole yet. Again, he doesn't have that BKB available, so he's going to be very careful when he uses it. That will be enough for forward to back off, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair move from forward. They don't want to take that high ground just yet. They split off with CC&C as well. They might force a fight outside, though.
They still don't have that God Strength, though. Another 15 seconds to go. It's forward now. Perhaps eyeing at that Roshan. God Strength is now back online. It's like Yawar really wants to find that top T2 tower, though the creep wave still is not pushed in. They'll eventually get there, but it's going to take a bit of time. So they have found 343 on the Shadow Demon, though. Can they find some form of stun? Upheaval will be there from Parline Die, though 343 will just go for the TP play, and looks like he will just make it out as well. Now bot lane Tavo, gonna TP out in the tree line, he'll be fine. This T2 bot tower though definitely won't be fine, as CC&C will pop the Diabolic Edict and will be able to clean it up quite easily.
Yeah, that's going to be a issue for Call. Of course, they only have one tier 2 left. As you mentioned earlier, forward has been eyeing that spot for quite a fair bit. Miracle has been pushing it out quite nicely with his skeletons as well. So that has been working to their favor at very least. He has his Heaven's Halberd as well. That might be a surprise and cause of concern for you, War, for sure.
Forward still won't go for that Roshan yet. They'll hold out on it. So they are just more interested in controlling up this this west side jungle for the Radiant. Meanwhile, again, that top lane still hasn't pushed in, and that's because the Wraithfire, or the Wraith King skeletons are there. CC&C, though, will go ahead and clean them up for the team. So eventually they'll be able to claim that top tier 2 up. Though Miracle may get caught out of position, though no. They'll go after 343 instead. It's an easy kill on that position 5 Shadow Demon, and now you are looking for more. Limp will TP out and will not get cancelled either. Meanwhile, in the river, Miracle all by himself right now. He does pop his own Blade Mail, but I'm not sure how much it's going to do for him. He does go down and nobody's around to help him out either. And this is going to be a very, very easy kill onto the Wraith King.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's going to make this high ground defense a bit harder. You don't have that Wraith King who's going to be split pushing, or at the very least, deep pushing his side lanes with his skeleton. It's not going to be happening for the next minute or so. That's a massive opening for forward. Of course, they did have to expend God's Strength for that, but they find Tavo as well.
It's going to make it a 5-19 now. 21k net worth lead for the side of forward. That net worth lead only getting bigger and bigger. You look over to that win probability once again. It is still sitting at around 86%, so it hasn't budged too much. So there is still some chance there for Complexity. Forward though, they are going for that Roshan finally, and that is going to be the first one of the game. That Age is probably going to go to Yuwa or CC&C on the Leshrac. And in fact, it is going to be CC&C, it looks like, that grabs it, as Yuwa doesn't really have space for it anymore. You've really got to give it to Yuwa on this spin. I mean, he's farmed like a madman. 6-0 with 9 assists as well, but He's at 24k net worth. Like, the secondary net worth leader is CCNC at 16.5k.
Yeah, Yawar has worked his hero out quite well. I mean, we saw him already with a pretty solid 1 to 2k lead earlier on at 10 to 15 minutes. That was massive. And he has kept that up. He has been doing work for his team. Again, we saw Miracle. He has that Heaven's Halberd. He hasn't managed to use it yet. So I'm questioning, how much value are you getting from that item? Not too much. Not too much. Mainly because, again, he hasn't had the opportunity to use it. And even while being picked off by that Sven, he couldn't manage to get that item off, which just meant, again, the Raid King just doesn't live long now. And it does look like he did go for the strength talent as well. So he's not going to have that amazing counter push, or at least the amazing damage coming out from his skeletons with a 35 damage bonus. He will go for a much more conservative talent tree, which is fair. You do want to be a bit tankier on this Raid King. You want to be able to take these fights. It's not happening yet, and his farm is not bad, but it's certainly not amazing like your wars.
Kind of wondering, when was the last time Paladai had the chance to, in fact, hold that thought? You are going to jump in all by himself. There's copying a lot of damage. The BKB comes out snaking, just going to keep him healed up. They'll go after Z-Freak on that Enigma. He'll force stuff his way out of there, though. Now Miracle has reincarnation, will be alright. You are perhaps just jumping the gun a bit too early there as Paladai. I was about to ask, when was the last chance he had of throwing out that golem? I suppose that was a chance, though again, he just was out of range the whole time.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. They really want to get these team fights on. They want to start sieging that high ground because complexities still have that potential to stall out the game forever with a sniper. And indeed, Limp is working his way to that point. He's going to be picking up a Crystallis next. CCNC does catch him out.
BKB committed to Limp. That was his 10-second charge going for that TP. Of course, he had to TP. He didn't have buyback gold available, so there was no real choice in the matter for Limp. The forward game, if they want to try and push the issue right now, they know that that BKB is going to be down for another minute. Looks like forward, though, they'll be pretty content in just keeping up this farm. They know that complexity aren't outside of their base farming anyway, so it's like they're not getting any further into this game for the side of Cold. They're not really progressing. And so forward can really drag this out as long as they want, it feels like.
They definitely could. Again, they have the driving wheel, they have the steering wheel, they have the dictation on how this game goes, and they're just kind of slowing it down. They're waiting for perhaps a couple of items to come out, or just some cooldowns to go off. They have all their ultimates up. It's been a while since Paladai did drop that golem down. He is working his way towards that Ags as well. So he's saving up. He has the point booster, not quite anything else just yet. They do bring some vision in on Paladai, so that might allow them to get the information they need to start these fights off, but looks like they will just take their time. There's no rush for forward. Like, even if they have this massive lead, there's no real rush coming out from them. It's just the issue of going late game against Limp. Do you want to wait for the sniper to be online? Probably not.
Miracle.
But
They get caught out mid lane, though they'll force staff him away. Paladai has been holding that Midas for so darn long now. He finally used it. Nobody's given the poor man a chance to actually use his Midas as they keep taking the camps off him.
yeah,
does finally get there,
it's
though.
rough, right? It's rough as Paladai. This is his life. That's what he does. He buys like 30 wards, 30 sentries per game. The one game where he finally gets a decent timing and supports Midas,
Limp.
he doesn't get to use it on any camps because his cores just really want that farm. I mean, God knows Yuar's not farmed enough. At 27k. It's not enough, Mike.
No, never. Never enough. He does need that moonshot, of course. And it looks like he will go ahead and secure it before they do make any sort of push. That is going to mean the Aegis will expire very, very soon on CCNC, but it looks like no one really cares, as he is going for an Octarine Core himself on the Leshrac, and does almost have that up. Meanwhile, Tavo does manage to get his urn up. Only problem is we are almost 37 minutes into the game. So Not sure how much it's really going to get done here, but I suppose when you can't farm it all right now, it's the only thing you can do is just wait for that passive gold. And just buy something with it.
I know. It's a core Spirit Breaker. You'd surely hope for a bit more from this hero, but it just hasn't had that impact you'd want.
Mid lane again, Miracle. Gonna get jumped on here from Yawa. He won't pop the gold string. He'll just hold out. Also, there is a BKB up on Z-Freak, as we already saw before, but kind of just waiting for that black hole to come out. Yuan does use the Bloodthorn this time around. Miracle, he's going to lose his life. That is the reincarnation. Now Yuan, he will go in with the God Strength. Miracle, he needs help. They'll leave him be. Instead, they'll go after that tier 3 tower while they had a chance, and Yuan just takes out half the HP of that tier 3 in 2 or 3 hits. Like, he goes in again. He has found Miracle. There's no reincarnation. The Bloodthorn will not take him out, I don't think. He will survive. Now Tavo going to go after that Omni Knight, though he's going to be careful. There is no stun available, but it doesn't even matter. Tavo, he just does go down. You are still going, trying to find a target. He goes on limb. He does have a fair bit of damage there from 343. God Strength does wear off, but they have so much sustain for this Sven. Meanwhile, the bot lane's being pushed in by CCNC on the Leshrac as well. And now the tier 3 mid tower is gone. That'll open up the shrines on the map there for Forward Gaming. And that's exactly what they'll go take.
Yeah, that's a nice, slow meta, very patient sort of push. Coming out from Forward, they managed to find one kill. They really forced Miracle to not have as much of a presence as you'd want. And when you have a Wraith King with a Radiance, if you can't stand there and fight, you're not getting value from that Radiance at all. So Miracle really not doing as much as you'd want at this point without Wraith King. And Limp, again, with his itemization, he just doesn't have damage yet. He's waiting on that Demon Edge to be coming out. Looks like he should have it fairly soon. They ship the courier out sneakily. So that is the MKB coming out on this Sniper now. That does give him a lot more to play with. And this might be an issue for Forward as, again, they're trying to siege high ground against the Sniper. It was already a mild issue before. With that MKB up, Limp is going to be hitting a lot harder, and it's going to be much more annoying to deal with this hero.
MLPDotA now does have the Aghanim Scepter up as well on the Warlock. The brighter side of things, Miracle does get the Assault Cuirass up on the Wraith King, but I just kind of doubt how much it's going to get done, as they are still 36k net worth behind. Cole, they are going to smoke up now. They're tired of waiting on the high ground. They need to make something happen. See Limp there as well. He has the MKB up on the Sniper. He is going for the Butterfly next. So the damage is starting to come in now. They are going to loop around and they should find MLPDotA here, though. Miracle gets his smoke broken and now Forward probably will just back off to safety. Gripper, in fact, no, never mind Yuwa. He just jumps straight in, though he doesn't find any damage on Miracle quite yet. They're going to continue the chase. Z-Freak, he popped the BKB. Yuwa's still pretty healthy. He did use the Satanic as well. Satanic will wear off now, and he just keeps going in. Limp forced the BKB up as well, though they aren't chasing Z-Freak right now. The black hole does come out, though. They found two in it, though. There's the golden drop coming out. Yuwa, he found Z-Freak, he found Tavo. They found the reincarnation on the Wraith King. Limp, he's the next target. He goes down as well. Miracle cannot do anything right now, and they just call GG. And I can't blame them. It was a full team wipe coming out, but what a convincing victory coming out from Forward Gaming.
It definitely was. They took their time with this one. They had a massive amount of time where they could have just went for that game, but they decided they really wanted to secure it. And, well, it does come out for them. 14 minutes in, 5-25, and I don't believe MSS died at all in that game. Yeah, he's 8-0 on the Crystal Maiden. That was a fantastic game coming out from Forward. Just a lot of patience from those guys, and they do manage to keep themselves undefeated. Complexity now stuck in that lower half. They're going to have to win a lot more of their games to really keep up in this group stage, Mike.
No, certainly so. I guess Forward did just show us why they're undefeated in the group stages, and we'll see how they go with the next games that are coming up. Though we do have another series going on, John. It will be Beast Coast versus, I believe, Black Sheep, which were from NADCL, by the way. So it's good to see them making it through to the close qualifiers. We'll see how they do against Beast Coast in our next series. Nevertheless, it is MLPDotA and johnxfire. We'll see you guys very, very soon, just after a short break. Won't be too long.